So here we go. Here you go. Oh, there. 3 years ago, we put this together because we were not very good. Okay, we weren't a very good football program or a team. So we just drew a circle, okay, made a target, and we figured out these things. In 2010, if we started focusing on academics and retention, meaning keeping guys out for football, because what used to happen is we'd recruit 50 guys, and then the next year we'd only have maybe 15 left, and then the year after that we'd have probably 10 left. So the big focus for us was retention. Since I've been the head football coach there the last 7 years, our GPA has gone up. When I became the head football coach in 2007, our team GPA was 2.4 and is currently 2.78. So every year it's gone up, and our goal is to get up to 2.8, 2.9, and eventually 3.0. Setting goals, I'm sure you guys set goals. I wasn't a big believer in goals because when you're terrible at what you do and you set a goal, okay, those goals are never met. So you kind of get away from it all the time. You don't focus, your managers will come in and say, hey, we got this idea, we're going to try this, and then 2 weeks into it, you stop worrying about that, you're going in a whole different direction. Shared values, we develop them, we write them. Scopes are individual meetings. For instance, if you're a manager of a group of 10 people, if I was in charge of the company, I would force you to sit down with those people individually at least 7 times a year and talk to them about things, and I'll show you what that's about. And then a win-now philosophy. So when I'm coaching and I'm going ballistic, okay, because coaches sometimes we can do things that you guys can't. I can kind of cuss at people a little bit, okay? The football world is a whole different world. A lot of people can't handle it because you have to be very unsensitive. But when I'm in that state of mind where I'm not happy, my coaches will say, hey coach, win now. And that relaxes me, and that tells me, hey, win the day. Whatever I'm doing at that moment, I got to shut up and refocus and get us on the right track. This I got back in 1997. Okay, teams, like any other relationships, must go through a cycle of development during which members develop a shared group identity and cohesiveness. And yes, I'm going to read this to you. So, remember, every time a new member is added to the team, or if there's a major change in team goals or organization, the team will go through these developmental stages. I think that's what you're going through right now, are you not? Aren't you adding a bunch of people? Okay, so this is what's happening to you as we speak. The 4 stages: Foreman, Storeman, Norman, and Performan. Has anyone ever seen this before?
Communications classes.
There you go. Okay, I live my life off of this thing. Foreman, Storeman, Norman, and Performan. Whether you're married, okay, you can go through that. Any relationship you have with an individual, you'll go through these. And as I talk here today, you'll be like, some of this stuff will hit you pretty hard, saying, "Oh, that happened last week." So this is how I explain it. The team may accomplish very little at this stage. There is still much uncertainty about the program's shared values. Trust hasn't been built. There's little discussion about what's expected and how the team members feel about being a part of the team. So how many of you knew I was coming today prior to today? That's an example of it. You're kind of just forming. Some guy says, hey, we're bringing this guy in to talk to you, and that's exactly what happened. Team members are looking to the team leaders during this stage to provide guidance and direction in developing the ground rules about how the team will operate. Team leaders and the members try to avoid controversy. This is big, okay? I don't know how you operate here, but I know for a football team, 153 guys are walking in. We know we're going to be foreman tomorrow, okay? Everyone's going to be happy, everything's going to be going good, and then reality is going to set in a hurry. So we try to keep things safe when we start a new job or go in a different direction. Then comes this stage. Whether you're a coaching staff, whether you're a business, this stage brings conflict and competition to the team. Team members are struggling to find ways to work together. They're trying to find a way to achieve success, although there may be serious disagreements about goals and objectives. Okay, I know you guys are all smiling here, so I know you don't have any problems. Okay? But think about it as we're talking about it here. Conflict results from some team members' attempts to dominate the team while others remain silent. In order to lead the storming phase, the team needs to acquire a problem-solving mentality. Okay, they're still not yet producing as a team. The only way we won last year, okay, was the fact that we had a problem-solving mentality. And we've been doing this for 7 years. I've been giving this same presentation ever since I became the head coach. And it took us 7 years to really develop into a program where we can Go out every day, and if something happens, I don't need to be there and answer all the questions. I don't micromanage. I teach my managers to run the company. So if I'm not there, they can run it. Norman, gradually the team comes together. They begin to focus energy on tasks. They agree on goals and objectives, bought in, accomplishing them. This phase is typified by goals being met, acknowledgement of individual members' contributions, and cohesion. Team members trust each other. They share feelings, solicit and give feedback, work to maintain safe atmosphere they've created. The team leaders must work together to encourage feelings. Members may be holding back so not to create conflict again. During this stage, the team is moderately to highly productive. Performing. The team is very comfortable now and work together smoothly. Team identity is complete. Morale is high. Team members organize themselves in highly flexible ways. It's important to note that reaching the performance stage does not mean smooth sailing forever. During this stage, the team is highly productive. Now, here's what I say. Stages of team development: Foreman, Storman, Norman, and Performan. Where are you? As a head coach, okay, I have a relationship with the administration, and I'm very conscious of this slide right here. I physically and mentally try every day to be in this stage with my administration. They don't know anything about this, but I do my best to work with the athletic director and be in the performance stage, which means this. I don't try to antagonize them. I try to work with them. I try to communicate with them all the time because I want to be in the performing stage with him at all points. Athletic department. Well, if any of you know anything about Oshkosh, we've had a huge turnover in coaches in the last 6 months that is unreal. But the reality of it is, since I've been there, I've tried to be a team player. In the past, all the coaches kind of went in their own direction. No one worked with each other. And I've been kind of the catalyst to say, hey, I'm going to come into this job and I'm going to work with all athletic department teams, male, female, whatever, raise money, try to help everybody. My own staff, as I said, I have 28 people, and then the team itself, which comes in tomorrow. I will begin immediately trying to get us to the Norman and performance stage with that team as soon as they walk in the door. That's what I feel my job is. Now, as a head coach, I realize with 28 staff members, an AD, and a bunch of other coaches, that they may not be where I am. For instance, I may think that Kyle was a player of mine. I may think that he and I are in the Norman and performance stage, but Kyle hates my guts. Okay? He's in the storming phase. So you have to be aware as a leader where everybody is. And that's part of that scope concept where you sit down and talk to people and find out. You think everything's okay, right? And then you find out that people are ticked off at things. So that's a way to resolve conflict. Makes sense. Any questions on this? This is how I live my life, and I have done since I became a head football coach at high school in 1997, got this in 1998, and used it ever since. Coaching coaches, okay? You have managers here, yes? Raise your hand. Managers who manage people, okay? You're a coach. I hate to tell you that. I know you're in business and you deal with money. I just deal with wins and losses. It's the same thing. Okay, here's what I say: respect the place. Okay, so don't look at it as a football thing. It has nothing to do with football. Respect it, respect each other, rely on each other. Okay, so everyone has to be on the same page. Everybody needs to know what's expected. Everybody needs to know what's accepted. And here's a big one, and this is a problem with young kids. They all need to. You all need to do what you're asked to do. How many times do you ask someone to do something and they quite didn't do what you asked them to do, so you got to go back? I don't know if you have that problem here, but I see that a lot with the younger generation. Is they have a serious problem when asked to do something. They tend to want to do their own thing. You never learn anything until you accept to act upon it. My job is to give proper time to meet with all coaches on the staff. Okay, and this was a huge thing in 1998. I thought coaching was about the X's and O's, and I know a lot about X's and O's, but really it's about managing people. So continually mind coaches what we want to accomplish, what we want to do, and what we want others to do. Explain what's wanted in this business and how you're going to achieve it. And here's the big one. When I got hired at Menominee Falls High School as a head football coach, the superintendent brought me in his office and he said this: "You will not be friends with your coaches." That's what he said. Dr. Shaw, he's about this high. You want to talk about a Napoleon complex? That man had it. Okay? He said, "You will not be friends with your coaches." I walked out of that office and I said to myself, man, that's really stupid. Okay? How can I not be friends with the guys I work with every day? He also told me I couldn't go into any bar in Menominee Falls, which isn't very stupid, but okay, those were my instructions when I became the head coach. So I came up with this. There's two relationships I tell all my guys that work for me. There's a professional and then there's a personal. Like, for instance, a kid I work with, Craig Stenbrock, and I call him Stenny, he is by far my best friend. Now, he's only 30 years old, I'm 47, okay? I'm not his best friend, okay? But I need someone to fall back on. He's my best friend. We have a very good personal relationship. But I can tell you right now, when we walk on the football field, okay, he knows I can tell him what to do at any time. So we have two relationships, and this also works with our players as well. List coaches' primary and secondary duties based on strengths and weaknesses, and I'm sure when you hire someone here, you have a list of job description. Okay, we do the same thing, but the problem I've seen is I hire someone to do this, this, and this, and by the end of the year I realize they've done this, but the other two things they're no good at. So what we do is brand them immediately. So I tell you, come in, let's say you come in to work for me, you're going to be a video guy, you're going to do video. After that first year of video, then you're going to ask me if you can go into recruiting, you can go into possibly doing some coaching on the field, and then we assess where you're at and we move you. I know when I got hired here at the university, they gave me a list of 31 things that I was responsible for. Okay? After 4 years of doing the job, I went in for my evaluation, and I knew out of those 31 things that I was assigned to do, I only did probably 8 of them. Okay? And I touched probably 5 more of them, and there were things I refused to do. And that guy in charge never called me out on it, but I would ask him all the time, can we change my responsibilities, because I really don't do this. So why is it on there? And let's go back every year and, what am I good at? What's the funny part about this story is he said I was not good at fundraising. Okay? Since I've been the head coach, I've raised probably damn near $750,000. Okay, so he said I wasn't any good at it, but now I've been proven to be one of the best fundraisers that the department has ever had as far as coaches go. Okay? Monitor assistant coaches, evaluate and identify problems, allow assistant coaches to be themselves. This is really a message for me. When I started as a young coach, a young manager, I thought everybody had to be as passionate as me and as crazy as me and work till 10 o'clock at night and do all those things. Well, I was seriously wrong. Okay? A lot of this stuff you see is because I made a lot of mistakes. So now I put this on there. I'm going to allow you, if you work for me, to be yourself. Okay? If you can't tell, I'm going to be passionate, as you said. I'm going to be emotional. I'm going to tell you what I think, but I don't expect my other coaches to be like me at all now. And that took a lot to learn. Establish a criteria for interviewing. Okay? Demand excellence, attract the best people. As you said, she said it here, passion. Okay? That's all we look for in our business, and I'm sure that's what you look for in yours. You need passionate people. Passion is the biggest thing. Set standards of performance and behavior, and a big thing is debrief, and I'm sure you do this. You do something, okay, and then you all come together and meet and debrief. Every time we recruit an athlete, if we have a recruiting day, we bring a bunch of recruits in, every time that day ends, we sit around as coaches with our feet up, relax, and talk about what we can do better. So we are constantly debriefing. Everything we do, we're talking about it after the fact. And this is a big one, especially when you're in my business dealing with kids, confidentiality, channel for release, and we talk about who they talk to. Because I have a lot of students that coach, okay? So Kyle played on the team. There was at least 10 students around every day that coach with him, and we're up there talking about the team, so I have to make sure that they don't go out and tell their buddies who they live with, hey, coach just said you suck, so that type of thing.
Is there something I can push? Oh, there we go.
Every decision is based on what's best for the program. My job's real easy, and I'm sure your jobs are too. If you answer this question, that's how you make a decision. If you want to let someone go, that chair is pretty uncomfortable, isn't it? Every decision I get presented to me, whether it's keeping a kid, whether it's kicking a kid off the team, whether it's keeping a coach, what's best for the program? Okay? A week ago, we had a guy come, he coached with me in 2007, he walked through the door. Now, I have 28 people that work for me, and this guy walked in and said, Coach, I want to come back, I want to coach with you. I said, well, I can't pay you. He said, I don't care. So then it was immediately I go to this, what's best for the program? And it was best for the program to bring him back. Okay? So that's how we decide on it. And I sit around with my lead coaches, who I have 3 others, and we talk about things, but in the end, this is what I say to myself every time I make a decision. Don't care who gets the credit. Coordinators, so your business owner and the manager is disciplined. I tell them it's not personal. I give responsibility. I may not get what I ask for, but I always get what I demand. I allow others to make the decisions, delegate, but be involved. And here's something I learned as a very young head coach. You know, if something's not right, address the issue immediately. Anytime you have an issue and you're a manager in charge, okay, there's nothing worse than, okay, she's causing problems with him, and you get that message, and now you're like, oh boy. And as a young guy, I would let it go. I would hope that it would go away. Get what I'm saying? I would hope that that problem would leave me. Well, as I got older, I realized those problems only multiply if you let them. So here's an example. If my coach sits down with an athlete, and that athlete says, you know, I'm thinking about quitting. They used to make the mistake and do what? They'd come tell me immediately and they'd say, hey, Kyle's thinking about quitting. And what would I do? In the past, I would kind of just let it go, but now, because I address things immediately, I bring that kid up to my office and I look right at him in the eye and I say, you're either in or out right now. And then my coaches are like, oh, I didn't want you to do that. Well, don't bring it to me. So again, what I do, my phone doesn't ring very much because I've created an identity where I'm in charge, but all the people that work for me have responsibility, and they better learn how to take care of issues. You get what I'm saying? So that's by doing this, I force my coaches to make decisions. So now when that person says, hey coach, I'm thinking about quitting, they immediately say, hey, don't tell anybody this, don't tell Coach Cerroni, let's just see if a couple days you change your mind, because they are 18-year-olds. And 18-year-olds never make good decisions no matter what. And they talk a lot and they're pretty stupid. But that's beside the point. Anyone 18 in here? Good. That's a good thing. So this is something that I think is critical as far as team building, managing, as far as dealing with issues immediately and solving the problem. Assistant coaches. I pride myself on the fact that I was a lot better assistant coach than a head coach. Why? Well, this is why. When I work for somebody, okay, I seek responsibility. And that was the biggest thing. I didn't sit around and just do my job. I was always aware of what's going on around me, and if someone needed help, I'd do it. Or I knew that tomorrow that head coach was going to have me in his office and he was going to want this, this, and this. I always knew that. So what did I do? I had it all done. So as soon as he said, here, I got a list of stuff for you to do, he'd name it off, it would be done already. It would be done. I seek responsibility. Even though I wasn't the head coach, it didn't matter. I took on head coach's duties. Then you say, well, what did that get you? Well, it promoted my own credibility, so when he left, it was no-brainer. They just appointed me the interim head coach, and then I became the head coach. Be where you are. This is a problem in college football, because college coaches, especially young ones, are always looking for that better job. And we have to always remind ourselves, hey, this is where we coach, so do the best you can here. So that may be the same thing in your business. I don't know. Whether you guys move a lot, I have no idea. Just be prepared, focus on common goals, follow direction, maintain the proper perspective, and know the big picture. A lot of times you have people that complain about things we have no control over, and I eliminate that immediately. I don't need you as an assistant complaining about things we have no control over. It isn't even part of what we're trying to accomplish. So I talk about that a lot. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay? Do not answer questions if you do not know. In coaching, we have a problem with this, because if you're new to a job, okay, and someone asks you a question, and you just make up some BS, right? Because you're trying not to look stupid, you end up looking stupider when you answer that question and it isn't right. I don't have any problem. Kyle played for me, and I'm sure Kyle asked me many questions, and out in the field I would say, what? I have no idea what you're talking about right now. We'll worry about it later, okay? I don't have a problem doing that, saying I don't know. So I follow that rule to a T, and I make sure young people follow it to a T so they're not screwing everything up. Offer new ideas within the system you work, and don't be a file dropper. There's nothing more that people hate than if I ask you to do something, and then you go give it to him, and then he gives it to her. You see what I'm saying? Those are file droppers. I gave it to you, get it done. So that's what we talk about too. We assume you want to be a great coach, we assume you want to mentor, we assume you want to make a positive impact, and we assume you want to be a champion. I think that pretty much sums up everything. Okay? As coaches, we made goals, so I'm sure as a company you have goals. All right? But I think we did something unique, which I'll talk about here. How much time do I have left?
Anytime.
Okay? Any questions on coaching coaches? And then we'll move on to the next phase of this thing. Because there's another phase, and then there's another phase after that. Any questions? We're good?
Good.
Okay? Are we falling asleep yet? Okay? We made goals, as coaches, when I'm talking about the top of the tier, we sat around and said, this is what our goals are, national championship and make you a man. That's what we do. That's what I do for a living. Okay? Thoughts for success. This wouldn't be for a company per se, but for us it was leadership. There's nothing more stupid than me being a teacher, okay, and going to the press, standing in front of the camera and saying, well, we lost this year because we don't have leaders. We have a terrible group of seniors. They're terrible, okay? So what we do is we teach leadership. Oshkosh will never have a bad group of seniors because we teach them leadership from the minute they walk in. That is my job. When you talk about the football team, I coach the seniors. I coach the Senior Leadership Council. They are the ones that run the team. Okay? Shared values, develop them. Care, be genuine. Make time for players, staff. Make others important. And involvement. This is a huge one. Okay? Those who are with you aren't going to be against you. So if you came to one of our games, you'd probably see 30 people stand on the sideline. My AD, the athletic director, hates it. But I tell everybody, a guy tells me, yeah, I'm alone. I haven't been to a game in 35 years. Well, come this week and you can stand right on the sideline. And he's shocked. All of a sudden he's standing on the sideline and right there. Those who are with you aren't going to be against you. How do you build something? Okay? So, issues we have, obviously always at weight training, leadership, picking captains. How do you pick your leaders? I let the Senior Leadership Council pick our leaders. I asked them how they want captains picked this year. That's kind of different. Goal setting. This is our leadership program. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the minute you walk in the building for us as a football player, we're going to teach leadership and we're going to define shared values, active participation. The seniors make the rules for the team. Now, I don't know, how many of you went to Oshkosh? Okay? Did you know prior to 5 years ago, the entire football team drank like a fish all the time? You wonder why we got our anuses kicked in every day. Well, they were just a bunch of party animals. That was the reputation we had. Well, for the past 5 years, our seniors have said, hey, no drinking during the week. Now, on a Saturday night, those kids are going to drink like a fish. But during the week, they are not out partying in bars, okay? That's a change that's happened because of this leadership program, and they make the rules. Community service, we try to do a ton of it, and then seniors teach leadership to freshmen, which I'll talk about here in a second. Now, this is a whole series of things we talk about, and I think the word here, what we're trying to do is change the culture, okay? And I want you to be clear that new people, the freshmen that walk in, I know they're not going to understand our culture, so I don't try to force it down their throat. But the older guys, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they're going to define our culture, and that's how we keep this thing rolling every year. Again, I'm going to have to go through it because this gets pretty lengthy. It's just talking about you as a person, prioritizing your life. You ultimately decide what you want. Boy. This is a big one. Yeah, you might think it's... When I played sports, and I wasn't a very good athlete, just let's make that clear right now. I wasn't very good, but you know, you had to cut your hair. You couldn't wear an earring, okay? I don't know if you have those rules here or not, but we don't, because I don't really care. I mean, that means nothing to me. Tattoos, what's important to us are the so what's and the what's. So what that your hair is long, you have tattoos, you have earrings. Okay, what's important is, do you do everything right? Do you go to lifting on time? Are you at every meeting? Do you help volunteer for our football team? Are you a good person? So that's kind of a different way of looking at it than when you think of the old sport thing of getting your hair cut and all that. I don't even worry about that crap. We teach them what leadership to us, make the people around you better, service, and then I'm going to fly through here. This is one that, just like we talk about with our coaches, personal versus team, we also discuss it with our players, okay? That there's a relationship here, personal versus team, being able to separate the difference. I'll give you an example. 4 years ago, I had a quarterback and a running back, same age. Well, after one weekend, the running backs took the quarterback's girlfriend away from him, as you all can imagine. That was a conflict. So I immediately brought them in the room, put up this screen, and said, listen, your little dealings with the girl are a personal problem. It doesn't affect the team in any way. When you're in this building, you guys are going to work together. When you're out of this building, you're going to deal with her in a different way. So he stole her girlfriend away. So that stuff does happen. We deal with it. But at least we have a way to deal with it. This is what I'm worried about this year. Okay, we weren't very good. We were really good last year. The old culture comes back when people feel the job of change is complete. That's my job now. I cannot let these guys think that we just because we won once, that it's going to happen again. So it's never complete. What is our biggest problem? I'll ask the Senior Leadership Council what our problem is, and we'll deal with it. Okay? One thing is our seniors this year are a little self-righteous. They're good people. A lot of them don't drink. A lot of them think their crap don't stink. So I have to deal with that, and I have to bring that to their attention, and we'll take care of that issue in a hurry. This is a big one. Legacy, we talk about this all the time. For instance, Kyle's class. I mean, that's a pretty good legacy to have, to be the best football team ever in the 118-year history of the school. I think that's all you can ask for. And then finally, that's the end of that. We assume things, they want to be leaders, we want to be the best athlete. We assume you want to graduate, we assume you want to make a positive impact, and we assume you want to be a champion. What I do now here is, like I don't know who's showing me around here, she's not in here, but she said, some people don't even know each other in this company. Well, what we do is, people don't know who the chancellor is, so I'm going to show them a picture of the chancellor. So if he's ever out at practice, at least if you're a freshman and not part of our program, you know who the chancellor is. So I'm going to introduce all the important people. And the reason I do this, okay, this is Jill Henry's the director of admissions. The reason I do this is because about 7 years ago, one of our players was lifting in the weight room. And the volleyball coach decided to tell this player to go do something. Well, he didn't particularly like it, so he told her to go F herself. Okay? So what she immediately did? She immediately came running to Colf, where I work. She ran in there and said, "You can't believe what this kid just said to me." Well, he didn't know who she was. So, again, problem-solving mentality. I tell that story, and I show them pictures, so at least these boneheads won't say stupid stuff to people. So I try to introduce them to the campus before it ever happens. All right? So we introduce people. We do have a value rubric. This has been published around the country. We're the only team in the country that actually does rubrics for their leadership program. So every May, I will sit down with every guy that was at spring practice, and I will try to get them from benchmark to capstone. And for instance, a freshman that can only able to transfer 75% of meeting topics. By the time you're a junior and senior, we're trying to get you to facilitate those meetings and implement things. And we talk about this constantly. So this is just what we designed. Again, that was a way to identify. We had to justify to the university that football was worthy of being at an institution like that. That there was some educational value to being on a football team. So that's why we had to do that. This is how we recruit. If you have a son and he wants to play football, these are the things we're going to tell him. Coaches serve as mentors for players using a scope system. Evaluate. We want to become better people. Our athletes will learn to genuinely have care and concern for others. This is the scope. So as a manager, you have 7 people that work for you. You would sit down 7 times a year, and this is an absolute fact, people, whether you're an athlete or a person. Okay? Tiger Woods said this. You remember when he gave his press conference? When all the trouble came down, he said he didn't have balance in his life. Remember that? When he was sleeping with a bunch of women, there was no balance there. Okay, this is exactly what he was talking about. If you know anything about Ohio State University, Jim Tressel, this is exactly what Jim Tressel dealt with. These 6 areas of your life have to be in order. If you're going to set a goal as a company, you better make sure their people are in these 6 areas, got their mind together. Because if they don't, for instance, if you're an athlete and you have academic problems, well, it doesn't matter what goal you set. And we explain this to our athletes. Okay? If you're an athlete and you have an attitude problem, okay, you're never going to reach your goals. If you're an athlete and you don't take care of your body, you're never going to reach your goals. If you have family issues, this is probably the biggest one, believe it or not. Okay, if I hear this so many times, Coach, I can't come to practice today. We had an emergency at home and the kid has to drive home. Well, that's affecting everything about you. Okay, the drama's got to stop. Faith and morality. Some coaches go a little bit deeper. We do have a group of kids that do Bible study. I mean, it's no big deal to us. It goes back to that acceptance and then caring and giving. What this means is this. Our goal is to win a national championship. Last year we fell 1 game short. Okay? We didn't meet our goal, but it doesn't define who these guys were as people. And that's the whole point of this scope system. But 7 times a year I expect my managers, my assistant coaches, to sit down with all their athletes and to talk to them and to get to know them. And as a leader, if you can imagine, I don't deal with a lot of problems. I don't scope athletes. As an assistant, I did. But now as a head coach, I don't. I'm the one that makes all the decisions. But I have to have my coaches. So I have all my lead coaches sit down with athletes and talk to them. Great example. This kid was having a bad day in practice 3 years ago. I'm ready to just go off and be me. And the assistant coach says, Coach, he just found out his grandpa has cancer. So then, instead of taking my frustration out on the kid, I took my frustration out on the coach and started screaming at him saying, why the hell didn't you let me know? I'm ready to yell at the kid. He's like, yeah, he just found out today. Well, what's he doing here? So I bring the kid over, I say, hey, drive home. Call us when you get there. We'll call the dean of students. We'll take care of your classes. Go see your grandpa. He came back the next day. Everything was fine. But that's an example of if you know your people, that's what you need to know and care for them. We set standards for scope meetings. Again, these standards for the meetings, we wrote these questions down. What it was this was a series of things that had bitten us in the rear end all those years. Okay? So we put a bunch of things down on paper that, gosh, we were no good at, or they were problems. And now we solve those problems 7 times a year by constantly addressing those things. For instance, do you have 12 credits? It might mean nothing to you, but you have to as an athlete. Do you know the amount of credits you need to be eligible? Most kids don't. We tell them 7 times a year. What's your major? Here, this one caught us 3 years ago. We had 3 guys ineligible over the summer. As coaches, we didn't even know why. Well, it was because they repeated classes. And that doesn't count as credits for eligibility. Who knows that crap? The NCAA has all these rules, okay? But then now, we have it in the forefront. If you notice here, for team standards, we ask you, are you sensitive? Because if you are, you cannot play college football. That's just the rule, okay? Sensitivity is thrown out the door. And what I found is, guys that have grown up with only a mom, so there's no dad in the picture, are much more sensitive than guys that had both parents involved. That is a fact, people. So that's what I've learned since coaching. Are you coachable? Do the coaches like you? I can't tell you the number of times I recruit kids. don't be a parent that's dumb. Your kid's getting recruited, and the parents come in, and what do they say to the head college coach? His high school coach sucked. He was terrible. I thought it's good. And then I just say, hey, wait a minute. Stop. We don't give a shit if you like me, okay? College football is if I like you, okay? So that's how you got to straighten people out. We tell our players that. Accept your role on the team, and then so on and so forth. We'll ask this question, okay? It is a problem, as you all know. Don't think we're idiots. We know. We know everything about our players. Do we not? So we try to help them. Have I sent kids to counseling? Absolutely. Last year we were 13-1. Did I send a kid to counseling in the middle of the season? Absolutely. So we're constantly finding out everything about them. All right, I'm almost done here. Community service, things we've done. If it's something you'd like to partner with us in, that'd be awesome. We did Feed America last year. We fed 370 families here right before Christmas. Okay? So this is how this works. If that's something, your company, because I'm already teamed up with Res Life on campus, but it's a one-day shot. We go out, we feed 370 people, we raise $2,500 and feed. I mean, you can't imagine how much food we gave them. So we did stuff like that. We always, Habitat, we helped, Polar Plunge, the Honor Flight, the one that just left EAA for Vietnam. I actually got to fly on it this year. This is the 5th year we helped them, and I flew with those guys to Vietnam, to Washington, D.C., to the wall. It's quite an experience. Boys and Girls Club we do a lot with. So, I mean, any way you want to get involved with that would be awesome. Let's just tell you. We wrote a mission statement a long time ago as coaches, okay? And this is what it was. Just a bunch of words. As you know, companies, do you have a mission statement?
Yes,
You do. Who wrote it?
late, like probably 7 years ago.
And it is just sitting in a room somewhere, right? Probably. This is my problem with mission statements. You have someone like me stand up in front of you, okay, and tell you, here's our mission statement. You had no involvement in it whatsoever. So it's absolutely meaningless. We found out that we wrote this. I read it to the team, okay, this was 4 years ago, and said, this is what we're going to live by. And no one cared. Nobody cared, okay? So, but we have one, and it still hangs in our room. Okay, we have a philosophy, real simple. Every part of our program has a philosophy. We have a philosophy how we play defense, offense, special teams. Okay, anything we do, that's our philosophy. A pretty stupid one. Tradition. When you're really bad, like we were, someone said to me one time, "You got to tell people who we are." I literally sat down and made half of this crap up. I put on here top 3 defense in the league, top 3 offense in the league. At the time, we weren't even close. I said, that's a tradition. And I started showing our players this stuff. Well, for the past 2 years, we have been way up there. Okay? So even though I made it up, it began to come true. You get what I'm saying? Now, I added this one after this season. I didn't say we're going to be champions. I just said we're going to compete at the highest level every day. I generalized it. I wasn't going to be stupid and say, oh, we're going to be 13-1 next year again. No, we just added that. But these are the traditions we have. They're pretty lame traditions, but when you don't have a tradition and you're trying to build one, this is how you got to do it. You got to let people know where you stand. Shared values. 2010, here's what we wrote. Coaches wrote these shared values. Okay, pay attention to this now. This is where our program is different than any other. We wrote these. I had 2 other coaches write them with me. We gave great presentations, stood up in front of 130 guys, talked about faith and belief, great PowerPoint presentation. We talked about team, discipline, had handouts, did it all. It didn't mean anything because the mission statement and the shared values came from who? You. So, what happened? In January of 2011, this guy was a little stressed out. I was a little tired of all this crap. I was tired of standing up in front of people, talking, and not getting my message across. So in January of 2011, I had a senior council meeting, and I said this: you will write the shared values for our team next year. You will write the mission statement. You will write the goals. And I'm out of it. And you will present them to your teammates. Because if you don't get them to play with you, it's done. We aren't going to win a game. I don't care. I can't stand up there and motivate you anymore. So what they came up with, okay, is a theme called Water the Bamboo. And if you know anything about bamboo, okay, giant timber bamboo, the first year you plug it into the ground and you water it, what happens? Does anybody know? It doesn't grow. The second year you water it, what happens?
Doesn't grow.
It doesn't grow. The third year, it doesn't grow. Our seniors in 2011 had gone through a 4-6, 4-6, 4-6 season, from freshmen, sophomore, juniors. It was their senior year. I said our theme is water the bamboo, study the bamboo. In the fourth year of watering giant timber bamboo, what happens? Anybody know? It grows 1.5 feet a day. So I came up with some theme, okay, heard it on the news, figured it out, said our theme is water the bamboo, gave them the pamphlets, we watched the video, they understood it, it was something they could relate to. Yeah, we were 4-6, 4-6, 4-6, okay? So here's what they did. They wrote a mission statement, and they put bamboo behind it. Kind of a neat idea. I could have never came up with it, just like you people are so creative. I love creative people. I love talented people. They wrote this mission statement. So now what do? We threw it up on the wall. We made a huge poster, threw it up on the wall. So what do you do with that? Well, we went up to Hobby Lobby and we bought stupid bamboo sticks. And you say, well, what did you do with them? Every Thursday we have a scout report meeting before our games. I made every senior stand up and hold that bamboo stick and give a word for the week. And all I said was, I want you to tell us what you're going to do to win a game this week. And they were all put on the spot. They had to stand up in front of the entire team and say, hey, my word this week is trust. We need to trust each other. And I found out this. As a head football coach, when I stand up there, it doesn't have half the impact when they're standing up there. Does that make sense? Okay? So they wrote this. Then what they did is they wrote their shared values. So that year they wanted to pick captains, and 2 guys got the highest number of votes, and they told those guys, you're going to stand up in front of everyone, and you're going to tell everyone what our shared values are. So I have players stand up and talk about shared values. What I've done is taken the entire responsibility of coaching, okay, and put it on them and said it's your team. You win, you lose, it's on you 100%. And this is where they went with it. Okay? They wrote their own shared values. That worked pretty good. We went 7-3. We lost a game in overtime that we shouldn't. We probably should have made the playoffs, but it was a great season. So in 2012, we do the same thing. The theme was iron sharpens iron. Okay? So our theme was iron sharpens iron, and our seniors, Kyle's class, wrote a mission statement. They all sat in a room. I leave the room. They wrote it together. Now this is a yearly thing. Okay? So that's what they wrote. What was great about this class is that they only picked 4 shared values. And what I did is I had that captain, his name was Tim Filter. Tim Filter did this presentation during August camp. He did it, I think, once in September. I had him do it once again. He maybe did it 3 or 4 times, I don't know. But all I would do to that guy is I would say, Tim, today I want you to present the shared values. We need a little pick-me-up. So he would go through all this stuff and tell the team exactly where we were. And we were pretty good, so we were rolling, and it was working. And what we had is pieces of metal on the side, because this thing, I actually bought swords. My coaches and I bought real swords from the movie 300, from the sword shop. Okay, so they were actual real swords that hung up on the wall. It was a beautiful display. Okay, so we made it as real as possible. They presented the shared values. And then this was the big one. Well, it's not on there. Their goals, they said, Coach, we only want 2 goals. Win the conference championship and win a national championship. I said, they're like, can we do that? I'm like, you can do whatever you want. It's your team. I'm not going to touch it. So that was pretty good because we came 1 game short. This year's mission statement is right here. The seniors in January wrote this. There's 23 of them this year. Last year we had 19 seniors. This is their shared values. They wanted to put their shared values this year in question form. Okay, again, come to me and say, can we put it in question form? What do I say? Do whatever you want. It's your team. I'm not touching it. But you better present it. Now, let me clarify something. They did this presentation during spring practice. Okay? So picture this. I said, hey, you're presenting your shared values. So you got 7 dorks standing up in the front of the room, okay? You know, football players. And I'm like, okay, present them. Let's go. And, you know, they're like this. Yeah, well, you know, are you doing the right thing? You know, they did terrible, is my point. Okay? So after that meeting, what do?
Address it immediately.
You have a senior leadership council meeting, and I say, you guys suck. Okay? That was horrible. You know, is anyone going to play for you? And then I paraphrase what they were saying, and they're like, no. I'm like, then you don't get it. You better learn how to lead. So that's my point, is how I teach them. You know, hopefully, we're going to address this again tomorrow. We have a senior leadership council meeting tomorrow, and I will immediately tell them how poorly they did in the spring of presenting. They better pick one person as a spokesman, not have 7 of them stand there like a bunch of idiots, so they can do it right. Because, again, it's critical to be a winner in our business. You need the underclassmen to play at a high level. Does that make sense? And I don't know what it is in your business that is going to, you know, but that's what we found to be the key. And this is how we've done it. I think that's it. Oh, this is their goals. I'm sorry. For this year again, they use the same ones. And then this is what they allowed them to pick the theme this year. In the past 2 years, I picked the theme. Now we're evolving into more. Burn the ships is their theme. What is the context of this? At senior class, what's the context of burning the ships? Does anybody know?
Can't get off. You have to work from where you are right now. There's no going back to where you came from.
No going back to what?
To the
Where
ship.
you were before. You can't go back to the ship.
Meaning, what's the ship's context? Losing. Losing.
Status quo.
Yeah. So that's their theme that they chose. And you know, you got to be creative here. What we're doing now is we've got to. I don't think it's on here. I know it's not, but we got now a display of their mission statement with the background of burning ships. We're going to take their senior picture down at Menominee Park at dusk, and they're going to do what you guys do. They're going to put it into something neat. So that's kind of how we do this stuff. And then it hangs in the building, and that's it. So, any questions? I don't know if this helped you at all. I'm just telling you where I live. Any questions at all?
Damn good.
Yeah,
Was it? Sorry guys, I'm leaving. Don't do it.